Going to the gym, doing all the exercises, but still don't see the results you want? Well, don't you worry, because in this video, I'll show you the most effective exercises for you to lose weight, but most importantly, I'll share some mini tweaks that will not only help you get better with your form, but also help you feel in the right muscles. Before me getting into the goodies, I just want to make something abundantly clear, because given the current situation of social media, this is something that 99% of people get it wrong. It is not 80% nutrition and 20% training. From training professional athletes to improve their strength and conditioning, to training regular people to build a body and lifestyle where they no longer have to diet, I've seen it all. From all these years of experience, if there was one thing that's proven true every single time, it is if you just focus on what you eat and neglect what you do inside the gym, it is never going to end up well. Even if you don't believe me, these are the two real downsides of focusing on 80% nutrition and just 20% on training. When you are consuming less calories than your body requires in order for you to lose weight, if you don't prioritize training with intent or training till failure, you're not given enough stimulus for your muscle to retain. And in simple terms, you're not given a reason for your muscle to stay. So as a result, all those weight you're losing won't be fat. It'll predominantly be your muscle tissue. When you lose muscle, you lose your ability to burn calories, which will then increase the chance of you regaining double the weight which you lost in the first place. Let's say you lost the weight and now you're looking to build muscle to secure fat loss. And as you may already know, you need to consume extra calories than your body requires in order for you to gain muscle. When you're consuming that extra calories and if you're not training hard enough or giving your muscles enough stimulus to use those extra calories to recover or to build muscle, your body has no option left but for it to store those extra calories as body fat. To sum it all up, just focusing on nutrition is like shooting yourself on the foot. It is not 80% nutrition and 20% training. It is 100% nutrition and 100% training. Since you know how important training is, let me tell you one more thing. Working out and training are not the same. Running around with 2 dumbbells and calling it a workout isn't the way you train. Going to the gym and doing some random reps on an empty machine and calling that a workout is also not the way you train. Being real intentional with your workouts and actually pushing till failure without sacrificing your form or technique, that is what we call training. Let me give you a little framework to ask yourself whether you're training or just working out. If your last reps don't scare you, you're not training. You're just working out. Now that you're planning to be really intentional with your workouts, the question is, how are you planning to get good at it? This is by doing game tape reviews. In simple terms, taking a video of yourself performing the exercises. It's the same like any other sport. How do professional athletes get better? They watch the game tape review, ask themselves what went wrong, what could have done better, and constantly stay in that feedback loop. Yes, you. I know what you're thinking. I'm just trying to lose weight. I'm not trying to be an athlete or even a bodybuilder. And that is exactly why you should do it. All these women you see on the screen are busy moms to busy professionals who's working 12+ hour shifts. They also just wanted to lose weight, and that is exactly why they did it. And if you're still not convinced, let me give you a real life scenario. Suppose you're investing your money into stock market. Would you want 5x return on your investment or 100x return on your investment? You know the answer. And it is the same in fitness. You're investing your most valuable asset, which is time. You're doing all the hard work, going to the gym 3 to 4 days a week, watching what you eat, and if you're okay to progress like a moving snail, sure, go for it. Keep doing exactly what you're doing right now. But if you want to get the most out for what you put in and to see results faster, you need to improve all aspects, especially your training intensity and your execution. If you're someone who's leading a normal life, you already have enough on your plate. Job responsibilities, family responsibilities, multiple commitments, and even you're juggling through all of it, you are making time for your own fitness, and that is hard. But not focusing on the small details like this is the biggest disservice you're doing to yourself. I wish I could tell you some shortcuts, but really, there are none. And it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't even need a tripod. You can just set up your phone against a water bottle and get a quick 30-second video of you doing the exercises. With that being said, let's move to the first among the 13 exercises you need to build the body of your dream. We'll start with the upper body exercises and then move to the lower body. So make sure you stay till the end. Number 1 on the list, shoulder press. This exercise targets your shoulders, specifically the muscles right here. To get the most out of this movement, as you can see on the screen, don't flare your elbows out. Keep it a bit closer to your body. When you're coming down during the eccentric phase, which is when you bring your dumbbell down, I want you to hold it in a 90-degree angle without dropping it too low, just like you see on the screen. If you drop it all the way down, there is no constant tension building up on your shoulders, and you might need to do a significant number of extra reps in order to feel the burn. The second on the list, lateral raises. This exercise also targets your shoulders, but specifically the muscle named medial deltoid, which is right here. Now, to get the most out of this exercise, there's only one thing I want you to keep in mind, which is lead with your elbows. Let me explain. Think about someone standing above you and they have a thread right on your elbows. And imagine if they're pulling it up to the top. That is exactly how you should be doing this exercise, just like you see on the screen. Elbows first and the wrist follows the elbow. The third one on the list, machine chest fly. This exercise targets your pectorals, also known as your chest. And to get the most out of this movement, always, always make sure your elbows are in line with your shoulder. And always keep a big chest and maintain a big chest throughout the movement. And when you're trying to bring the bar closer, think about your biceps trying to kiss each other. Arms straight, chest up, and get a good squeeze. And in that way, you can prevent yourself from leaning forward and maintain an upright posture throughout the movement. Now, from this position, bring the handles as far back as possible and feel a good deep stretch, just like you see on the screen, and repeat the same. The fourth one on the list, bent over rear delt fly. This exercise also targets your shoulders, specifically the rear deltoid, which is right here. When you're doing this exercise, keep your torso as parallel to the ground, and in this way, you get much more activation on your target muscle since you're pulling the load directly against gravity. Next, make sure you keep a slight bend on your elbows, and the key here, the more you can bring the dumbbell away from your body, the more engagement you get on your shoulders, and that is how you get the most out of this exercise. Fifth one on the list, my favorite, back row. This exercise primarily targets your upper back, but also it helps you build the entire back musculature. Now, you may have seen people doing it by just bending a 45-degree angle, but if you're here to get the most out of this movement, which you are, I'll show you how this can be done better. Instead of keeping a slight bend, if you can lower your torso as parallel to the ground, you get much more engagement on your upper back since you're pulling the load directly against gravity. And the crazy part, you don't even have to go heavy. You can get much more activation with a small load, and this is also how you build that hourglass shape which you've been dreaming from time. Next one on the list, one-arm dumbbell row. This exercise targets your lats, which is the muscle right here. This is one of the OG exercises when it comes to isolating the lats, and the one that can really help you build that hourglass shape. Now, instead of doing it like one hand and one leg on the bench like most people do, it's way better to do it standing behind the bench. This way, you have more stability since both of your feet are planted on the ground and you can really focus on isolating the lats. Here's a little pro tip. When you reach at the bottom, release your shoulder blades and reach a bit more forward, as far as you can, to get a good deep stretch and, in simple terms, to feel that burn. And now, as you come back up, avoid using momentum and swinging the weight. Just keep your upper body stable and focus on driving your elbows right to your back pocket, and that is how you get the most out of this exercise. 7 on the list, lat pull down. Guess what? This exercise also targets your lats, and as you guessed, the muscle right here. So if you want to get the most out of this one, there is only 2 simple things you need to keep in mind. First, always make sure you keep a big chest, especially when the bar is all the way down. And from here, what I want you to think about is squeezing a lemon with your armpits, and in this way, you get much better mind-muscle connection and the biggest lat engagement. Second, when the bar is at the top, stay upright and reach as high as possible to feel the burn. The deeper the stretch, the better. To sum it all up, just 2 simple sentences. Break the bar in half, keep a big chest, and squeeze a lemon with your armpits. The next one on the list, seated cable row. This exercise also targets your upper back, but at the same time, helps you build the entire back musculature. Now, most people use the closed handle to do this exercise, and the reason why I chose the wide one is that, as you may already know, in order for you to get the most out of an exercise, you need to maximize concentric and eccentric parts. In simple terms, the stretch and the contraction. With the wide grip handle, I can bring my elbows as far back as possible, like I'm squeezing a pencil with my back, and feel it way better on my muscles. And in that way, I'm maximizing the contraction part. Now, let's talk about the stretch. instead of just releasing the handle and stop in midway like most people does, just think about someone punching in your stomach, where you kind of round your back and reach your arms as far away as possible, and there, my friend, you will get the stretch of your life. And again, to sum it all up, get a punch and squeeze a pencil with your back. Next one on the list, Bulgarian split squats. The people who know me knows how much I love Bulgarian split squats, and in this one, it gets a little tricky. If you want to focus more on your glutes and hamstrings, which is the muscle right here, think about you planting your foot into the ground, and in this way you get much more stability. And when you're doing this exercise, lean your upper body a bit forward and create a hip hinge like exactly how you see on the screen. This way you get more engagement on your posterior chain, and as a result you can get way more tension in your glutes and hamstrings. Now, if you want to focus on your overall leg musculature and a bit more on your quads, which is the muscle right here, well then all you have to do, instead of leaning forward, keep an upright torso and bring your foot a bit closer to your body. This way, when you go down, your knees will go over your toes, which is knee flexion, and in that way, you get more engagement on your quads. Number 10 on the list, reverse lunges. This exercise will help you target the entire leg musculature, but I know most of you just want to focus on the glutes. So here we go. Well then, you can use the same principle which I used for the Bulgarian split squats. If you lean your torso a bit forward, you can feel it way better on your glutes since you're creating a hip hinge. And in case if you want to spice it up and take it to the next level, here's a little pro tip. Add some plates underneath and elevate your foot, and in that way, you get more range of motion and a deeper stretch, which will then help you build that dump truck. Now, the 11th one on the list, walking lunges. In this one, we used the same principle we used for reverse lunges. If you want to feel it way better on your glutes, make sure your knees are aligned with the ankles and torso slightly lean forward in order to create a hip hinge, just like you see on the screen. And on the other hand, if you want to focus on your entire leg musculature, but a bit more on your quads, which is the muscle right here, keep an upright torso and make sure your knees are not going over your toes. And here's a little pro tip. Think about a book on your head and 80% of the weight towards your front foot. In that way, you can feel it in the right muscles and you won't have a huge temptation to bend your upper body. The 12th one on the list, leg press. Now, talking about this one, a few minor changes can make a huge impact on the muscles you feel. So, if you want to focus more on the muscles right here, which is your quadriceps, I recommend doing exactly like how you see on the bottom, where your knees are going over your toes, which creates a knee flexion, and as a result, you will feel way better on your quads. On the other hand, if you want to focus more on your glutes, do it exactly like how you see on the top, where your foot is placed towards the top. The key here, regardless of which muscle you're targeting, you need to do it in full range of motion. And if you ask me how, always make sure your knees is coming as closer to your armpits. The more, the better. Last but not least, RDL. Romanian deadlifts. This one is a staple and one of my favorites to build the glutes. And if you want to get the most out of this movement and feel it way better on your glutes, just stick this into your forehead, closing a door with your butt. The most common mistake I see everybody making is just swinging their torso up and down and calling that an RDL. Instead, if you want to actually feel this on your glutes, make sure you're pushing your hips behind like exactly how you're closing the door with your butt. And when you go far back where you're feeling that intense burn and can't go any further, instead of lifting your upper body and coming back up, what I want you to do is put that same focus on your hips. Think about pushing them forward exactly like how you push them back. Keep in mind, there are more killer exercises that will give you more benefits for the effort you're putting in. But since I want to keep it concise and simple, these are the only 13 exercises you need in order to lose fat and build muscle. Now, there is not even a single chance that you're going to master the movement by just watching it once. So save this video and like and subscribe if you haven't already, and watch it again and again and again until you feel it right on the target muscle. It would mean an absolute world to me if you can share it with a friend who's struggling knowing what to do in the gym. Not only I can impact one more life, you can also be their savior.